Create that life, legacy designers. Amber Prosia here. Welcome to episode number 18 of the Parenting Biz Podcast, coming to you every single Monday. Now let's chat with this week's featured guest, Renee Hasseldine. Renee, are you ready to step us through your journey of how you theoretically crafted the life you've always wanted for yourself and your family?
Yeah, baby, let's do this.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Renee. Renee is also known as the IP Asset Queen, who runs a business called Share Your Passion, who is on a mission to empower thought leaders to create products that people love and that make a difference. Renee is a highly evolved, super smart original. While she's definitely one of a kind, to help you out, think Aaron Brockovich, who fights for justice, mixed with Thich Nhat Hanh, the Zen master, and throw in just a little pink, superbly wicked for good measure. Renee is a fellow podcast host running a show called Leveraged and Loving It. Leveraged and Loving It is for coaches and thought leaders, where you'll all learn about how to create more leverage in your business so you can make more money in less time, spend more time with your friends and family, and love your business even more without the burnout. She'll share her top leveraging lessons and have interviews with top coaches and thought leaders about how they've created businesses that they've always loved. She's also the co-host for the Business Playroom, which is a panel show by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. On top of all that, she's an amazing mom with two sensational little girls. Renee, please take a minute and fill in any gaps from that intro and give us a little glimpse of your own personal life.
Well, that was a big intro. Thank you so much, Amber. I don't think there's any gaps to fill in, really, unless we'll take the whole episode if we get any more depth, I think.
Okay, cool. We'll continue on. Well, thank you so much for being on our show, Renee. You are amazing, and we are so lucky and honored to have you on today's episode. So thank you for being
pleasure.
Here. As you are aware, our listeners are parents or parents-to-be that realize ownership is key to not only to our parenting or business, but in life in general. And along that parenting journey, we can lose sight of that. However, if we focus on life as a game, a sport, or an activity, not only can we learn to let go easier, but we can also gain strength from our mistakes and design our core focus to be one of laughter, joy, and most importantly, having fun. Just like a 5-year-old kid in the sandbox. So this week, our entire interview will be plotted in the theater scene. So welcome to our play called Visual Models on the Rise. Now, as you guys are all aware, this is just an analogy, and we can create and design our lives any way we want. Renee, this was your chosen activity, so let's go through your daily performance and how you make it work with your life and expertise. So let's start off with the script, because a show doesn't exist without a script. So how has a plan, or aka script in this example, created your life?
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Oh, no problem. How has a script, because have you planned your life, or did you just wing it? Because I'm a winger as well, so I can plan and wing, right? So if you planned your life and you've wrote out a script and you put out goals in mind and you've got that focus, how has that created your life of where you are today?
So I would say that I probably am a big planner, a very big planner, and I've planned my life and my business so that I work during school hours, during school terms only. So, and that works really, really well for my family because I'm married to a school teacher. So he has school holidays off. My two children, who are both school age, have school holidays off, and I plan my business so I also get to enjoy the school holidays with them as well. So that means we get 12 weeks a year hanging out together as a family, and I really, really value that. So I plan all my business activity around the school year.
Fantastic. And have you only been running your business while you had kids in school, or have you started this business before you had children?
So I've been in business for 18 years, so long time before kids. So my eldest is 7.5. Actually, she's closer to 8 now. Yikes. So she was born in 2010. So, I've been in business for a long time before that. I started in 2000. So I would say that, well, pre-kids, it was a totally different ballgame, wasn't it? I could jump on a plane and head over to a client in the UK, and that was no problem. You know, I'd be flying over 5 times a year, and I didn't really, when it's just yourself that you need to think about, you can be really flexible, I think, and you can make decisions on the fly and be on the fly, jump on a plane at the drop of a hat. So it's a quite different situation. So yeah, I think that once my kids were born, I really had to rethink how I wanted to do business and life and how that was going to blend. And I don't see that it's a one or like it's, I kind of hate that term work-life balance, because it makes you think that on one hand you've got life and on the other hand you've got work, and like the opposite of life is death. So it's equating work with death, and I don't really like that. So I kind of like to think of it as a life blend. So my life blend, my work is such a joyful part of my life. And I feel like if I wasn't doing work that I loved, I wouldn't be the best mum I can be. So
I completely agree with you. I like the blend. I haven't thought of it that way. I always use integration because I'm the same way about the balance. It's like, no, you don't have to keep them separate. Why don't you integrate them to one? And like you've just changed your script about going into, now your focus is, okay, let's work the business around school terms, which I think is amazing. I think that's fantastic that you did that. So fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah. How would you recommend our audience to become so clear on what they're going after, or potentially their business direction? Because like you said, when you were without children, it was on the fly, and that's still fine. But it sounds like you still probably had some direction and still some plan. You might be a little bit of a planner then. While maybe as a parent, not to feel that you have to have another obligation, but now you have other human beings you're looking after, that you do need a little bit more of a direction focus. How would you help parents to become, or business owners that are parents, to be so clear to remove the chaos?
I think for me, it's focusing on what's important. And, you mentioned before my podcast, Leveraged and Loving It. Leverage is a really important part of how I managed to create that blend in my life and to, get 12 weeks a year off. That's for many people, that seems like, a big hairy ass goal, right? So, but it's totally possible when you create leverage. And when I use the word leverage, I'm meaning that getting more with less. So that's, achieving more in less time, making more money in less time, serving more clients in less time, all that sort of stuff. So there are kind of three main things that you can do to do that, to create that leverage. And the first is about products. So for me, I create leveraged product, which means that I'm serving clients more than I can do in my one-to-one time. So I run lots of workshops, I run group programs, so that I'm not limited by the number of hours in a school day. So that's firstly what I do. Secondly, it's people. So I have a fabulous team, and I could not do what I do without my team. So I have a firm belief that if I don't love an activity in my business, if it's not in my zone of genius, I outsource it. And I pretty much live by that, which means that for me, my job in my business is to do the training and facilitation, to run my programs, to, show up and be there for my clients, to do the thinking, to do the innovating, and to do the selling. So that's my role in the business, and everything else is taken care of by my team. So that means when I'm on holidays that there's not radio silence in terms of my content, because my team makes sure that my content continues to flow. And so I still have a presence in the online world when I'm spending time swimming in a waterfall with my family.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. And then the third one is systems. I love leveraging systems, creating automations and systemizing things so that things can happen in my sleep. Yeah. So those three key levers, for me, by pulling on those, I managed to get more done in less time. And that's what's made a big difference for me. And yeah, that's what I recommend that people work on in their business.
Yeah, that's massive. I completely agree with you on all of that, even with myself. I had to switch gears as well. And now with the business, I still have things running when we have a newborn. So literally I won't be there, but the business will still keep going. And it's based on leverage, automation, and having those systems in place and having a team, because I wouldn't be able to do it without my VA, without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely.
How has that shifted for you? Because now you've been in business for 18 years, and obviously technology has expanded throughout that time as well that wasn't there. Did you always have that thought about leverage, or has it been only, I don't know, let's say 5 years ago that you really just crafted and really became that art of leverage?
So I'm going to, this is going to be a warts and all moment. Okay. So I'll give your audience complete honesty and disclosure here. So thanks, I was kind of like the plumber with the leaky tap.
Okay.
So I was creating leverage for all my clients. That's what I did for them. That's what I do for them. I help them to create that leverage in the business, but really what I help them to do is to extract all the intellectual property from what in their heads and turn it into intellectual property assets. So the funny thing, not so funny really, because, I'm basically saying I'm a slow learner. I was doing this for all my clients, but I wasn't doing it for myself until about 3 years ago.
Wow.
So I was doing all the done for you stuff for my clients, and I was doing one-on-one work with clients, but I wasn't actually creating that leverage for myself. So yes, about 3 years ago, around the time where I decided to write my book, that's where I created my own signature system and really started to implement for myself what I was implementing all this time for my clients.
Yeah, do you mind me asking, thanks for your honesty, I really appreciate that. Do you mind me asking, was there a switch of just, maybe you're pounding your head against the wall or getting close to burnt out, or was there something that just kind of made you stop to realize, wow, I'm doing this all for my amazing clients, but why the heck aren't I doing this for myself and leading by example that way?
Well, I think probably two things. One of them was my clients were flying. They're, as a result of working with me, they were building $1 million plus businesses. And me, I was stuck trading time for money. And that's always going to have an income ceiling. So that became frustrating as well, because I knew how to create these businesses and build these businesses, but I was doing it for everybody else except myself. So that became a bit, there was an aha moment around that. And almost probably a frustration point as well. Sometimes we're motivated more by the pain than by the pleasure. And I think in that moment it was a bit more of the pain and that realization. And secondly, for me, it was about integrity, because I want to walk my talk. And it's one thing to, show your clients how to do it or to do it for them. But I think it's really important as a thought leader and a go-to expert that we walk our talk and we own our shit and we just do what we've got to do, and we need to lead by example.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Well, let's move on to the next element, which is the main character, because a play can't go on without a main character, right? So I guess, how do you define a main character, or potentially a dream client or an avatar? I'm not too sure your terminology that you use, that you can make it so clear and precise of who you're going after, so your target audience. What terminology do you use for your main character in your business?
So I refer to an ideal client or an ideal client avatar.
Yep.
And for me, that is a coach or an expert who wants to be the go-to expert in their industry, who wants to be, the person that people think about when they're thinking about their area of expertise. So that is my ideal client. It's someone who has been basically, they're not a newbie. So, for example, if I'm working with a business coach, they haven't just qualified as a business coach. They have experience running a successful business to begin with, and then they have been coaching one-on-one for a period of time. And then once they've done that, they're ready to start creating that leverage. They're ready to build their signature system. Then they're ready to work with me.
Yeah. And do you work with clients to define their own ideal client as well? Is that one of your foundational steps?
It is part of the process. So we need to get really, really clear. And I'll take a step back. To be honest, my clients they must have an idea of who their ideal client is, because they already need to be running successful one-on-one practices before they work with me. So they would already have a pretty good idea who that is. Even if they can't articulate it, they they can pick a favorite client. And the clue I always give is that your ideal client is you before your own transition. I mean, we pretty much, teach what we need to learn. So that's usually a really big clue. And it applies to me as well. So, so basically it is part of the process when I work with someone. So I will help them to clarify that, because if you're going to create your signature system and build visual models to demonstrate your processes, then you need to be super clear about who your ideal client is. So yes, that's part of my process for my Authority Accelerator program, is that we will have a one-on-one session and get really super clear about their zone of genius, who their ideal client is, and what makes them different to everybody else, why people will work with them. So we get really, really clear about that before we actually get into creating the models themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely get what you mean by having, your ideal client already has a successful business. But just for our audience that's out there that's listening right now, is there are successful businesses that actually probably haven't been so clear, like how you said, to articulate exactly their main character, which is why you have to go into that narrow, that specific, that detailed of who they are. And it really does matter. And it is time consuming. You think it is, and you kind of just want to throw words out there, but it really does give you that clarity, and it removes that chaos once you know who you're going after, and then you'll actually be able to market towards those people as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their language. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. So what if, as you're attracting this main character of yours, now I know for your clients or your ideal clients for yourself and your business, but let's say I'm now a customer of yours, and while I'm attracting this main character ideal client of mine that I think is my ideal client, but it kind of changes because I'm creating this now signature system, and I now actually kind of want to shift a little bit. Does that happen often with your clients?
It can happen a little bit, because the person you want to attract for your one-on-one services may be slightly different to the person you want to attract for your one-to-many programs. So it can, but generally when we're creating our signature system, we'll find generally that the process that we work with our one-on-one clients on is similar to how we want to work in our one-to-many anyway. We just need to find a way to scale it. So there can be a slight shift, because the person who wants to work one-on-one with us is not necessarily the same person that will be happy to work in a group scenario. So you may have slightly different ideal clients for different products. That's totally possible.
And how is it that with the transition, because I find most of it, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're always doing one-to-many. Right? That's the whole point of leverage, right? It's not the one-to-one with your time. So that's obviously a transition for the business owner as well, because they could be so used to thinking, well, no, I have to have my clients. How am I going to do? They don't want to do groups or whatever it might be. How is that? Do you recommend for the business owner to actually change their perspective?
Well, actually, I think it's a misconception that to be leveraged, you would only do one-to-many, because you can actually create leverage in a one-on-one program. Would you like to hear how you do that?
Yes, please. That would be great, Renee. Tell us, please.
Because we don't need to get rid of our one-on-one clients at all. That is a misconception, and I think it's crazy to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There you go. There's my parenting.
Appreciate that. Noted not to do that.
Yeah, crazy to do that when you are in transition. I mean, the transition period from one-to-one to one-to-many can be really challenging, because firstly, we're getting out of our comfort zone to create new product, new systems, creating our signature system. There's a lot of brain work, time and energy that goes into that. And so what can actually happen is that our income levels dip as we shift our focus away from those one-on-one clients. We can actually stop attracting them in the way that we were previously. So our income can dip in that transition period. And I think that's a really important thing for people to be aware of, so they don't freak out and go, I'm breaking my business. It's totally natural and normal that happens. So I just, if anyone is in transition, I just want to let you know, and your income's dipped, that's okay. You just keep working on to the creation, and you'll get through it. So I've forgotten what the actual question was. Get me back there, Amber.
No problem. I'll hopefully remember myself. The one-to-one is still leverage.
That's right. Yes, one-to-one is still leverage. Absolutely. Thank you.
No problem.
So with the one-to-one, you can create leverage in that by actually providing the content delivery in video, PDF, email format, for example. Right. So say I've got, my book, Share Your Passion, has a 7-stage process to take what's in your head and turn it into a leveraged product. So in that book, I turned that into a program. And with that program, I recorded videos and created worksheets so that for each of the 7 stages, there was a clear step-by-step process. And when I work one-on-one with clients on that process, then they would watch the video, do the worksheet, and then they would turn up to our one-on-one sessions with their homework done so that the time we actually spent together was looking at their work rather than me teaching them. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So in that way, we're actually creating leverage even in a one-to-one situation because I'm spending less of my time doing the teaching and I'm only spending my time doing the coaching and mentoring part.
Yeah, brilliant. And if you don't mind me asking, would you plan on eventually to actually take yourself out of the coaching part and literally just have that as like an online membership site or something, like as a course program? Or
I'm not a fan of those kind of passive income products because I know that lots of people, and me included, when we buy an online course that is done, like you do it yourself and you get all the content, here's what I do. I download all the content. I put it in my folder for, when I've got time. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you how many times I've opened that folder to actually do stuff.
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
0.
It's the discipline, isn't it? Self-discipline. Yeah. If you don't have it, and majority of people don't have it. It really, yeah, absolutely.
You need to plan your programs and your courses for the worst student you can imagine, me.
Yeah. Which is why you do so great at it, because you can think of that though, right? But you have to think of the worst case scenario, and that we're, school's over and we don't like homework and all that stuff. But, if the one that is wanting to be successful, they will do the work, but they need that accountability. They need someone there to be like, hey, well, why didn't you get that done? Or, we can't have our coaching session. Like, do you continue on with the coaching session if they haven't done their homework?
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Cool. So that's like their repercussion.
So that's exactly it. So I believe that if you as a business owner truly care about your clients getting the results, then that whole passive income of, you sell the product and they do it all themselves, I don't believe that's actually serving them. Mm. So, and that's going to upset a few people because they're going to be like, but I just don't believe that is, I feel like that lacks integrity. So for me, I truly believe that we can have a leveraged income in that way. So, you sell the course, but you also give them touch points where they have check-in calls with you, and they don't need to be full hour long. They could be 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and still be quite leveraged. But knowing that they have to show up at a particular time on a particular day with their work done is going to give them a little bit more motivation to make sure that they actually follow through and get the results so that they can become a raving fan and tell everyone about how awesome your work is.
Yes, absolutely. And with that, because also this is probably some other audiences like, well, what if we do a group chat? How would you feel about that? So that's still,
absolutely,
fitting with your integrity. You're still checking
Totally. Yep, absolutely. Either of those things, as long as there is at each step along the way in the program, a touch point that the client has to know that they need to show up with the work done so that they actually stay on track and keep the momentum. I think that's a really, really important part of providing a service in a leveraged way, yes, but also with integrity.
Yeah, beautiful. And obviously, and like you said, you may have offended people. That's okay. You're going to offend people along the way anyways to success. So
totally.
You just got to accept that,
I'll always speak my mind. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah, me too. Straight shooter. All right, let's move into the audience then, because there'd obviously be no show if we don't keep the audience entertained. And that's obviously, like you said, the raving fans. They could be actual clients, or maybe they're just people that support and love your work and they're following you, but they haven't actually bought a product from you, but they're coming to your play, right? They're coming to check you out. So how can we consistently keep our audience entertained or grab their attention, like through your visual models?
Yeah. So I love visual models. And, you may have heard me say that I love them so much I call them business porn. So truly for me, someone actually gave me a new term the other day.
Oh, right. What's that?
#bizgasm.
Oh, love it. Have you used it yet?
Yeah.
Oh, great. So before we get ahead into the business porn and all that other gizasms, can you just explain to our audience what's visual models first? And then please go into it. Thanks.
Yeah, totally. So what I love to do is take the information that's in someone's head and, when we've got 10, 20 years experience in doing what we do and with our zone of genius, we know so much stuff. It can be like in our head, all tangled up in a big spaghetti mess. And when we try and explain what we do, it's like, well, where do I start? It's so, there's so much to it. I can't explain it in 3 words or less, right? So, it's not like for most of us, it's not like we can say our job is, I'm a doctor or a lawyer or a dentist. It's not a simple, easy explanation than we say what we do that everyone understands it straight away. Mm-hmm. So when we take what's in our head and turn it into visual models, so what I'm talking about is, say, for example, you've got a process with your clients where, like in my book, it's a 7-stage process to take what's in your head and turn it into a product. Mm-hmm. So in that process, there are 7 stages. And so what I actually have for those 7 stages is a diagram, a picture, a model that shows the 7 stages. So for this one, it's simply a series of 7 arrows, stage 1, and it says stage 1, passion and purpose, stage 2, brand, stage 3, the funnel. So it's got for each of the stages, what happens in that stage. And so that simply, just showing that graphically though, means that people will remember it more because our brain loves pictures. Yeah. And so it's going to help them with recall as well of the information, but it also gives them a roadmap. So it means that a client can see that there are 7 stages to get the result that they want. Mm-hmm. And so when they get to stage 3 and they're like, but Renee, why don't I have my product done yet? And it's like, well, because we're up to stage 3 and there are 7 stages. So we're on our way. Yes. So you can give them that clarity and that roadmap to show them that there is a proven process, that this works. You've just got to keep, putting one foot in front of the other and following the process. When you trust the system, you get the result. And so, so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about visual models and creating your signature system. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Yeah, no, definitely. And let's just explain what's business porn we might as well while we're here. We said it already out there. So please, Renee, explain to us, what is that?
So for me, business porn is simply, what is it in your business that juices you? What is in your business that gets you so excited that you nerd out, freak out, get juiced about?
Yes.
And so for me, that happens to be the visual models. I love taking the complex, that spaghetti mess, and turning it into something clear, succinct, and simple.
Fantastic.
I love that. That is so exciting to me. And because of the benefits that you get from doing that, I think it's just orgasmic, so I call it business porn.
I love it, and that's great. I love it. There's the pink side of you. It's fantastic. And I just have a question too, because you mentioned it twice now, the zone of genius. Can you just elaborate a little bit on what that means to you as well?
Yeah, totally. So I think one of the ways to best get clear about zone of genius is to have the distinction between zone of genius, zone of excellence, zone of good. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the time in our business, we can get pulled into doing for clients things that are in our zone of excellence, like we're good at it. We can do a great job. We may even be excellent at it, but we don't really get that excited about it. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you had examples of that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think we all have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. whereas the zone of genius for me, and for me, my zone of genius is the creating the visual models, creating the signature system for people. When I'm doing that, it's so easy for me. It's so in my flow. I can do it nonstop, and I don't even need to come up for air. I can work. I can get all the way through to school pickup, and then it's 3:30. Oh my goodness, I'm late to pick up the kids. I haven't eaten all day.
Yeah.
It's time just flies when I'm doing that work because it's so much fun for me. I lose track of time. And I think another kind of key around that is it's so easy for me that I think, I can't believe I get paid for this.
Yeah.
So when we're in our zone of genius, like, you've got to look for those clues in our lives, in the work that we're doing. What are those activities that when we do it, we think, oh my God, this is the best bit.
Yeah.
I love this part. Like, I wish I could do this all day, every day. Well, actually you can.
Mm-hmm.
You really can. You can just, the more you niche down and narrow down the activity that you do for your clients, the more you'll become famous for that one thing. Then, if whoever wants that one thing is going to be like, oh my God, I need to go to Renee because I need a signature system. Like, that's all I do. That's it. You want a signature system, you come to me. You want marketing and sales and other stuff? No, that's not my jam.
Yeah.
That's like zone of excellence.
Mm-hmm. And it's great that you actually separated them, because I feel like a lot of business owners, like I always just think of this mind map where you want to run it all. And it's like, no, you don't have to be great at all. That's like how you said about outsourcing. It's like, if that's not, getting me off and getting me excited and in my zone of genius, it's like, well, why would I be wasting my time and actually infringing that onto your clients as well? Because that doesn't sit with your integrity. If you know other people can do it better, hire them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Build that awesome team so everyone has that zone of genius in every element that your clients need and that you're giving at that highest value.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I actually don't necessarily, so for example, my clients come to me and they create their signature system, and then they're able to create content for their workshops and their ongoing mastermind programs and whatever it may be, so that I work with them to help them to be the go-to expert to create all the intellectual property they need to do that. But I don't teach them how to get bums on seats.
Yeah.
I don't teach them how to fill their workshops.
That's right.
So, in that sense, I collaborate with Francesca Moy and say, go and see Francesca because she is the go-to expert on getting bums on seats. Mm-hmm. I can help you create the content, the intellectual property, but in terms of bums on seats, she's the one.
Yeah.
So, she's not in my team, but
mm-hmm.
I collaborate and I build relationships with people who offer complementary services so that I can give referrals, and I love to give referrals to people who I know are awesome at what they do.
Absolutely. But and that's the thing, people will still come to you because you might be connecting them with someone else. And just looking like even this morning, I got a text message from a gentleman and he's asking me about video. And he's like, do you know anyone? I was like thinking all the different people in my head as well. And it's like, yeah, I just want to connect you with, if someone else can help, it's like, why not? Let them shine. That's what they're great at. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you do know anyone for video, let me know.
I do. Yes, I do. Jenny DeLacy in Melbourne does video marketing. She is awesome.
Yeah. The only downfall is that he wants a certain age restriction. And that's where I'm stuck, because I thought of Jenny as well. But I'm still thinking about reaching out to her and actually then seeing if she might know someone else. But I thought of Jenny right away as well. She's been on our show, so if you haven't heard her episode, go back and rewatch it. It's all about video marketing.
Yes, Jenny DeLacy rocks.
Yeah, fantastic.
And she's got a signature system. You may have noticed she has models.
Oh, does she? She didn't share them with us. We'll have to have her back on the show.
Yeah,
definitely, and show those off. Let's go into the spectacular, because with the visual elements we've talked about with your visual models, there's visual elements of a play. So there's the sets, the costumes, the special effects, etc., right? And that is what entertains the audience to watch the play. That keeps them engaged. How do you recommend business owners to enhance our own performance? So is it only through visual models for yourself, would you recommend? Or is there extra elements to grab people's attention?
I think a lot of it is about being just showing up as ourselves every day. So yes, I've got all my visual models, but I am on brand, which means I am me in every online thing that you'll see of me, or if you see me in person, like no matter where you see me, I am me. I'm not pretending to be anything other than myself.
Yeah.
So, and I own my brand essence. I am passionate. Like my brand essence is passion. And, you can see that with my fiery red backdrop and, my main brand color is red. And you'll always see red when you see Renee Hasseldine. Like that is, I'm on brand. So I think that, yes, we have our visual models, which are super important, and the models need to be on brand as well. So we need to be super clear about our personal brand as well. And this is a big learning for me in the last 18 years because I came from corporate, and I had this belief because of that bigger is better. So for a long time for me in my business, I would want my website to always look like I was bigger than I am. And so it would have a corporate brand, and it would be like, showing all the team and this and that. And what I realize now, though, is that people actually want to know me, and they want to work with me because I am the person with the solutions. I'm the go-to expert. And so what I wish I'd done from the beginning is just brand myself as Renee Hasseldine, and I had that as my domain name in my business, so that, when I write a new book, I don't have to change my, I've got shareyourpassion.com.au, but I've got another book coming out soon. And, I've also got my podcast, and, I've got all these product brands around me, and they're going to change and evolve over time as I grow and change. So the thing that stays the same is my name. And I think that, if I was to go back and start again, I would just use my name as my personal brand and stick with that, because it's so much easier to keep that with us and evolve that with ourselves rather than constantly, updating our product brands and business brands as well.
Yeah. What's your thoughts though on if you put on your because especially with you being all about leverage, do you not see that if you've used your personal brand as your name, that there's that potential as well that people only then want to work with you, that you won't be able to actually leverage, say, depending on obviously what you're wanting to do, but if you eventually want to train someone up to be able to do your zone of genius for visual models, or maybe someone else comes in and they're just as amazing as you are, and you can actually share, clientele with them as well, how would that change? Did that be anything different for you?
Well, so I guess it depends on the type of business that you want to run, firstly. So, if you want to run a thought leadership practice where you are the thought leader in the business and you are the champion of the business, then that's one type of model. And so the personal brand there is really, really important. Or if you want to run a more scaled, if you want to scale up and have other team members presenting for you, then you can still have your personal brand, and they will need to build their personal brand as well. And so it's kind of like there's a brand triad, if you like. So there's the personal brand, which is, Renee Hasseldine, and then there's the business brand, which is for me, Share Your Passion. And then there are the product brands. So I've got Leveraged and Loving It, Your Signature System, those are my product brands. So there's always going to be that brand triad. And so once you get to the point where you're ready to scale up, then it's more important to start looking at building a business brand or, that company brand type thing. But again, I think you still don't want to lose sight of your personal brand because, if part of your business is, and I'm making an assumption here that part of our business is that we want to be getting speaking gigs or running workshops and things like that, then that we need to be known ourselves personally for that to happen. No one's going to Google Share Your Passion to find me as a speaker. They're going to be Googling Renee Hasseldine.
Yeah. Nope. Fair enough. That's great. Thank you. Let's move into, we have two more elements, and so we might as well move on to our next one, which is music, because we kind of touched on it a little bit, but in theater, there's always great music, and it sets the scenes, and obviously it can give us, the audience, or even the main characters, different feelings and sensations. What would you say is, how have you defined the music in your life? And that's as a parent or as a business owner, because that really makes us tick. It sets our state of mode, it gets us into that zone of genius, or it literally is that zone of good. right? And we can change that alter of the music playing around. How would you say the music has played out in your life, and what would be your theme?
Can you give me a bit of an example of what you
Yeah,
like?
sure. So sometimes like when we're just kind of we're in the transition of your 7 steps, right? And we're on the 3rd step and we're kind of like, are we there yet? We can kind of have like that daunting music, or maybe we can have music that just kind of is not preparing us and we're kind of just doubting ourselves. And then we can also have that prep music where it's like, okay, I'm only on step 3, so I only have 4 more to go. How can I get myself to that next element by having that motivation and using that music to give us that final oomph if we need that, and that sets our scene for our next play or what our actual plot is all about. Does that make sense?
No. Sorry.
Don't worry. I'll reword it another way. So,
I'm like, do I need to give you a title of a song? Like, I'm really confused.
No. Just kind of, it could, I'm just using music as the word, but it could be something else. So it could be like your driver, could be your children, right? Like, what would you say is playing for you theatrically in your play that actually is driving you to be a business owner and a parent,
Yeah.
And then it could also be pulling the other way. Does that make sense now?
Okay, yeah. So what's your motivation or inspiration?
Okay, perfect. If you want to use it that way.
Yep. Okay, cool. So for me, I would say that I'm actually, it's so easy for me to be inspired and motivated because I love the actual work in my business. So I don't need there's no other motivation or momentum needed. Like for me, the creation of signature systems is my music. That is my drive. That is my juice. And I firmly believe that if I'm going to spend time away from my children, then it needs to be for a damn good reason. It needs to be for something that is going to make me a better human and a better parent. And I'm so lucky that I found that. Yeah. It means that because I'm doing work that I love and that fills me up when I go home to my family, well, I work from home, so that's hilarious. But when my kids come home from school, my tank is full.
Yes.
I don't feel drained and depleted by my work. So by the time I see my kids at the end of the day, that I'm kind of grumpy and annoyed and I've got nothing left to give. So for me, I really needed to get back into my work after having kids because that makes me a better human being and makes me a better parent. So
it's great that you're so clear on that now, but let's say if our audience isn't, so if we aren't liking or hearing that music that we're actually listening to at the moment, how do you recommend to change it? Now I know obviously it's just easier said than done, just change it, right? But what would you recommend? Because have you always been that enjoyable, or have you had to make that shift as well?
So I think, there have been shifts, and, we go through ups and downs in our business, and I think it's totally unrealistic to think that we're on a high all the time. After 18 years, I've been through many ups and downs and cycles. And so, realistically, there are times where we have our dips. And I would say, looking back, a lot of how that's happened for me in the last sort of, I guess 5 to 10 years has been that I got a little bit too sucked into the online part of my business because it's easy to think that, well, if I just set up all these systems and automate everything and, automate all my funnels, and then, the clients will just come to me and the money will just come in, and then, it's going to be all easy and I won't have to do anything. And I got so sucked into that I stopped doing the work that I love. So I spent way too much time behind my computer screen doing stuff that didn't actually work after many, many years, and it was out of integrity, out of alignment for me. And that really, that was probably a dip, is spending a lot of time trying to build my business online, spending way too much time on social media, when in reality, I really love being in a real life situation in a room with my tribe. I love events. I love facilitating workshops. I love doing that stuff. And I lost track of that for too long.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so. How did I get out of that? It was a bit of a reality check, a reflection. Yeah. And again, drinking my own Kool-Aid and going, Renee, if you don't love this, don't do it. Outsource it or stop doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's really powerful too, because a lot of people will feel that, you know, there could be repercussions, or people will believe them, or they'll lose credibility. Like it just could go into a downward spiral. But it's just actually saying, you know what? No, this is who I am. This is what I want, and being okay with it within yourself, and that's all that matters. You know, and if
Yeah.
you need to make that change, then that will go through. And you touched on a little bit about with the online world, because I feel like a lot of people have this whole commotion about, yeah, you can do this, and like you said, all these automated funnels, and the money just pours in because they see other people doing that, but they don't see all the hard work that they've put in behind the scenes, or extra stuff that they might be doing on one-to-ones, or
Yeah.
you know, it's just this whole online appearance that unfortunately our world is you know, technology is amazing and I love it, but there's also the downside too, and you got to also catch yourself to not get caught up in that and get over it's just pretty much hype, right? And realizing what that is.
Totally. Yeah. It really, there is a lot of hype, and it's easy to get caught up in it. But I think we've actually moved past the stage where that's a viable way to run business, because I think that our audience has wised up to that stuff. You know, our audience is no longer going to be tripped by the tripwire and you know, sucked into your funnel and all that sort of stuff. You know, it's got to come from a real place, and it's got to be about real connections. And you can build trust, that know, like, and trust factor, so much faster being in the room with someone for 10 minutes even. But you know, a whole event, you can build that rapport and that that know, like, and trust factor so much faster in the room with someone than you can chatting to someone in a Facebook group.
Yep, absolutely. And that will give you your leverage eventually, right? You can scale up from there once you grow that. So let's do our last element. And this is a little game, okay? So the play's over, but the crowd obviously loved it. And we're so proud. And so they wanted an encore. So this is a little game, okay? So as you go back onto the stage, I'm going to say one word, and I just want you to say out loud what that first word means to you.
We're playing a word association game. All right, here we go.
You're on it?
Yeah, baby. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Coaches.
People.
Chaos.
Renee.
Travel.
Yes.
Workshops.
Oh, yeah.
Love.
Me.
Honesty.
Say that again.
Honesty.
Honesty. Every day.
Fun.
Always.
Children.
Love.
Business.
Awesome.
Legacy.
Everything.
Friendship.
Love.
Money.
Awesome.
Systems.
Sexy.
Marketing.
Fun.
Contribution.
Always.
Teamwork.
Essential.
Nutrition.
Vegan.
Exercise.
Personal trainer.
Fame.
Celebrity.
Relationships.
Love.
Babysitters.